Hey, what's up, fam? Thank y'all for tuning in once again. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell so every time I drop a video, you will be the first to know about it. So I came across an article where even the White House has a problem with Bidenflation. And it circles back to the student loan debt forgiveness. Now, a lot of us citizens would love to have our student loans wiped out. Any kind of debt we have. I mean, just be honest. I mean, people say, hey, if I owe a debt, I want to pay it. And that's the right thing to say. Matter of fact, that's how I feel too. If I done borrowed money and I accumulated a debt, then dig nabbit, I need to pay it back. That's just how a man should think, and that's how a man should act. But if you're gonna take away from it, then go ahead. I mean, that's what you want to do, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. I'm just gonna do what I gotta do to put the work in. But Biden has wiped out a lot of debt. Not a lot compared to how much is actually owed in student loans, but a lot just for the grand scheme of things. But one of the questions people don't ask, and this is something that pretty much shows the selfishness of people, because you remember those stimulus checks we was getting, I don't know, a couple years back. I think I cashed one, maybe. I don't know how many we got, like two or three. And the rest, maybe two. Maybe I cashed two. But I do remember that I did not cash like the last couple that we got, because it was like, first it came like, oh man, good. I was, ignorant, wanting the money. I said, I'll take it if you give it to me. But then it came out, or I saw that you won't have to pay it back, somehow, probably with interest. And that it really wasn't helping the American people like they made it seem, because you're going to pay it back somehow. And I'm like, shoot, no, you can keep that money because I don't need it. I don't want no loan. I don't care what you call it. I thought it was just something you was giving, just like you're doing to, like I say, Ukraine, the migrants, Israel, stuff like that is going on now. I'm thinking she just give me money, I got to pay it back. But don't get it twisted. You giving money to them other entities I talked about. Trust me, they're reaping some kind of financial benefit, whether it be today, tomorrow, or 3 generations from now. It's a long plan. It's a long plan. But anyway, let's get into this article real quick. It's from the Washington Examiner.com, and it reads, and it's an op-ed, so I haven't read the whole thing. I kind of skimmed over it, but so it could be some language in here that you can tell that the person is biased, but we're going to read it anyway. It says, the White House admits Bidenflation is literally crushing people. President Joe Biden's billion-dollar debt bailouts are inherently unfair and divisive, as much so that even his allies in the White House press corps are beginning to question their propriety. And it is divisive because you got people who have worked hard, taking 2-3 jobs, taking money out their house, savings, this, that, and the third, so on and so forth, to pay for college, to pay back student loans or what have you. And then you got Biden coming in and just wiping them out for certain people and not, reimbursing those who've already paid. So I can understand them people being highly pissed off. On Wednesday, Biden's White House announced another round of student debt forgiveness. This time, Biden announces a $7.7 billion transfer to taxpayers, a debt incurred by 160,500 borrowers who are public service workers like teachers and nurses. Now, I am a nurse. Will my debt get wiped out? I don't know. I mean, I have to see. I haven't even looked into it. If it is, it is. If it ain't, it ain't. Like I said, either way, I'm gonna still live and still do what I plan on doing. But I mean, is anything I can do about it? Like I said, if you're gonna do it, shoot, heck, do it. But the problem is, like I say, people are gonna have to pay. But my thing is, don't get mad at me. If my student loan debt get wiped out, if I get reparations in the form of cash payments from the federal government, don't get mad at me. Get mad at the federal government for, one, taking advantage of my people, hundreds of years ago, decades ago. in slavery and Jim Crow and things of that nature. And don't get mad at me. Get mad at the federal government for allowing these loan companies to just hand out money to kids and charging them astronomical interest that they'll never be able to pay back. And so now the federal government feel like they got to do something for the people. Get mad at the top. I'm just like I say about the migrants. Don't get mad at the migrants for coming over here and taking advantage of loopholes or whatever going on that Biden has allowed them to come over here. They're all willy-nilly. Can't get mad at them. You got to get mad at the administration who's allowing it to happen. So what you do is you get rid of them. You get them out of office. That's what you do. That's something I learned from Uncle Luke a long time ago when he did a show on, you remember that TV show, The Box, and with the videos and stuff. And remember, they would do interviews with people. And Luke, I remember Luke Skywalker, Luther Campbell, whatever you want to call him in the video. Matter of fact, I recorded, and I think I still got it on VHS in the living room. Man, but back in the 90s. And he said he used, he went through all this stuff with people trying to ban him from doing his records, and he went to court, what we call freedom of speech, Constitution, all that. But one thing he said is, when people in the office and he don't like them, he said he voted myself. I take my voter's registration card with me and I go vote them out. See, stuff like that I remember from way back when. Like I said, all that stuff I think is missing from TV nowadays and entertainment. It says, in all, Biden has now erased $167 billion in student debt for 4.75 million people. But student debt is like in the trillions, or like at least 1.7 trillion, something like that, I think. While the lucky recipients now face fewer financial obligations. Now here goes the key, so pay attention. Those obligations do not magically disappear when our president snaps his fingers. The money borrowed by those students already went to colleges across the country. The colleges already collected that money and they're not giving it back. The federal government has to borrow money to pay back the debts and release students from the obligations they incur voluntarily. This increases the national debt and means the rest of us will pick up the tab for the interest payments and the principal on Biden's supposed generosity. So again, which means that all of us, even those who didn't go to school, didn't get a degree, you're going to pay for it through your taxes. So the money got to come back somewhere, somehow. And they got to get it from somewhere. So they're going to get it from us. Let's see. Biden student bailouts are nothing more than a transfer of wealth from those who already paid their debt, did not borrow, or did not go to college to those college graduates favored by Biden. This is not Robin Hood robbing the rich to help the poor. It's robbing us all to pay for a privileged few. It's not fair. It's immoral. And NBC's Peter Alexander wanted an answer. Quote, why didn't those individuals who didn't receive $35,000 in debt cancellation deserve a $35,000 check from other Americans for what other means they would want to use it? He asked. People who didn't go to college, so they're not getting debt relief, the $35,000 that they don't get because they didn't go. White House Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre responded, we're talking about folks who are in debt, who are literally being crushed because they took up, at this point, a separate report and injected. They're not literally being crushed. Jean-Pierre snapped back. Financially, okay. Is that okay with you? It was ignorant of Jean-Pierre to talk of people literally being crushed, but she implicitly and unintentionally made a good point about the debt burden members of the public are facing in Biden's mismanaged economy. See, what this old saying go, you let somebody talk long enough, they will dig themselves into a hole. Well, no. I put two things together. Let somebody talk long enough, they're going to tell themselves. You let somebody dig a hole enough, they're going to dig, eventually going to end up digging themselves in a hole they can't get themselves out of. There you go. Say thanks to high inflation caused by his profligate spending, Consumers are paying interest rates at generational highs on mortgages, car loans, and credit cards. According to the Federal Reserve, consumers have accumulated a record $12.8 trillion in housing debt, $1.62 trillion in car debt, and $1.1 trillion in credit card debt. See, I see stuff like that and I see it like this. I'm not going to be the one to complain and cry. I'm going to be like, I am part of that debt and I'm about to get myself up out of that part, being a part of that debt some way, somehow, because these numbers are the reason why a lot of people are, like I said, don't have, I mean, it's just, just what's it called, a house poor, because they in debt on things that you can actually just get rid of with money management starting early. And so by the time you're in your 30s and 40s, starting family young, which is something that for some reason is a big no-no for people now. But I will always advocate for people to start families young. I don't know what, early 20s, maybe late teens is a stretching it, but starting a family and keeping that family, because you can build, I ain't gonna say generational wealth, but you build generational stability like that. Especially if y'all are all both as a parents trying to build and create and do more with your life and put your family in a good situation. That's the thing. So, like I said, so when you get in your 40s and you ain't wasted your 20s, your teens and 20s playing around, wasting money, burning money, getting in debt, then by the time you get in your 40s, you're like, man, dang, I need to get up out of this because I'm sick of living like this. I'm sick of working every day and I ain't gonna say ain't got nothing to show for it, but struggling to keep it. But if you start young, by the time you get in your 40s and 50s, you pretty much living off of what you did back then. But that's everybody. Understand the choices that you make in your teens and 20s are going to dictate what you do in your 40s and 50s and really the rest of your life. Now that you think about it. So we got to be smart, not having too much fun, not too much frivolous spending, but got to be smart about it. He said this is not literally crushing anyone, but higher interest rates make it make life difficult for millions of people, especially those without college degrees. According to the latest Federal Reserve Economic Well-Being Survey, inflation has worsened the finances of 65% of people, including 19% who said it was much worse. Almost 1/5 of adults, 17% said they could not pay all the bills in the month before the survey was taken. But Biden says everybody got access to good jobs. For good reason, voters overwhelmingly disapprove of Biden's handling of the economy. They also tell pollsters they trust former President Donald Trump to deliver better economic results. He brought them tax cuts that raise the value of paychecks for all people. Biden is interested in passing out economic benefits only to the most loyal members of the Democratic base. So there you have it. That's in a nutshell. This all the student debt forgiveness, all that kind of stuff, man. Giving monies to, like I say, the migrants and Israel and Ukraine. We got to pay for that. We got to pay for that. And the thing is, we got to stop it. Some of it not contrary to popular belief. The U.S. government has been giving money to Israel for decades, and probably been giving money to other countries for forever. And we as regular people don't know. And it's like, okay, they give money overseas, good faith, goodwill, whatever. And we think, oh, that's great. They're doing a great job for the people. What the problem is, but it ain't a problem when everybody's doing good. When America is doing well, then you help those who need help, less fortunate. That's the biblical scriptural way, right? But when your people are not doing that well, when there are problems where people can't afford to pay rent, can barely afford to pay for groceries and gas, got to get 2, 3, 4 jobs. Ain't nothing wrong with working. I mean, shoot, working 2 jobs, 2 jobs is the norm for a lot of people for a long time. But again, it's how far that dollar goes is where the problem is. It's a financial and emotional thing. If I can work 2 jobs and one check pays the bills and the other checks, you can use it to for entertainment, whether it be traveling, going out, whatever the case, seeing shows, seeing movies, whatever. That's one thing. But if I'm working 2 jobs and both checks are going to pay the rent or just household bills, that's what the problem is. That's a major problem because now your dollar is not going to what it used to. So a lot of people like to compare what's going on now to what used to go on back in the day, but it ain't the same. It ain't the same. And people feel it. People say, oh, back in the day, interest rate in houses were like in the double digits. Yeah, I understand. But again, people weren't really tripping on that interest because people still paying houses off in a matter of years, like a few years. High interest or not. Should we have a $300,000 house now or $500,000 house now with 12% interest and see, or 15, 18% interest, and see how people will respond to that? Should you be paying on that house and your kids be paying on that house? We'll have to. You, your kids, and your grandkids will have to sign that mortgage to make sure that house is continue to be paid after you die, because that's what's going to happen. So it's not the same. You can't really compare, like say, old days to nowadays. But anyway, that's all I got for this story. Tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. Share them with the world. Don't forget to support the channel. There's 4 ways you can support non-monetarily. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. All 4 won't cost you cost you a dime, but maybe a couple of minutes out your day. Help boost channel algorithm. If you want to support financially, you can always super thanks, super chat, or go to the description box below. There's links there you can click on to help support also. But with that being said, I'll leave you in peace, and I'll see you on the other side.